already know who it is. It's the radioactive Papa Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Papa.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you!
Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog. What is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly. Pretty and power approved.
Good. I'm glad you know the future. That's perfect. Now, why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth. Is it true that your dad has a ringside seat but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. It looks like we need to run it back, folks. Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal, and I'm with you every single Tuesday so that we can talk NWA wrestling. Man, I just got back from New Jersey, and boy, are my arms tired. No, I'm kidding, guys. But this is the pre-party. This is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, like I said, and I am Jay Cal, and I'm here every Tuesday, again, to talk to you about the NWA, and we have another what appears to be quite an exciting episode of NWA Power that's coming to you tonight on youtube.com/the NWA. I see we got some of you guys here, but you're all being quiet today. Everyone showed up as a empty seat, I guess. But we're here every Tuesday, like I said, and I didn't even get the TikTok feed going. Anyways, so like I said, it came back. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this today. I am home from New Jersey, from rustic Glassboro, New Jersey, where we had what I'd like to say a pretty decent turnout for the Alliance Dog Wrestling Summit. We did that this past Saturday night in rustic Glassboro, New Jersey, to celebrate the last event, I should say, of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators at the MaxFit Sports Center. They're closing down the building, so our pals at Dog were able to hold their final event there. Some pretty great action, including a World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship match of Chris Steeler defending against Busky Eric Martin. We also saw Dave Dahl won a damn freaking match. I can't believe that. That was quite exciting. I got to hang out with Tim from NWA Gold. Scooby was there. I met Tim's wife, Mrs. Alliance Gold. It was a great time. You guys missed out that weren't able to make it, but hopefully, we're planning to do this again at the 75th anniversary. Hopefully all of you guys will join us there as we will talk all things NWA at that 75th anniversary show. Hopefully get some food, some drink. Dave Scooby and I had dinner together again with Tim and Raluca, and of course Jaden, who you will never see his face in public, made a rare appearance to hang out with us as we all dined on the eateries from Chickie and Pete's. It's a good time. Dave Scooby was there. I hope, Dave, did you have a good time at the dog event? And what about the after party? Did you have a good time? I thought it was awesome. On Saturday, like I flew in on Friday night. It was a rough day getting out there. I had a flight cancel and a 2-hour delay, but eventually your boy got out to Philadelphia just in time to go to bed. The next morning, I met up with Jaden. We did some dangerous adrenaline wrestling gladiator business, had some delicious Philly cheesesteaks in South Jersey that were awesome. They're actually, those sandwiches are on the menu known as Jaden, so you'll have to ask for those by name. Then we headed down to the MaxFit Sports Center. I got to see them put the ring up, got to hang out again with Dave Scooby and Tim from the Alliance, the Alliance Gold. Got to hang out with him. We talked a lot of wrestling, talked about tonight's show, we talked about the event that was happening that night with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. If you happen to call that an event a show, you will be chastised by more than just Lawrence Zirconium. Dave Scooby said he loved it all. Looking forward to NWA 75. Man, I had a blast with you, Dave. It was cool seeing you. Dave actually gave me a gift, but I left it in the other room. But he got me a very cool NWA 74th anniversary poster that you'll see probably replace this guy, because half the people aren't even on the show anymore. Yeah. Aaron Stevens, Thom Latimer, Camille, Tim Storm. Yeah, that's it. Wow, that thing aged quickly, huh? Anyways, so I am excited about that for the poster. Thanks, Scoop. Tim gave me a nice sweater from Canada. So I've officially been offered dual citizenship, which I will take him up on so that I can pursue my dreams of training with the Hart family in Calgary. And maybe I'll go check out a Calgary Stampede match. Maybe Nick Aldis will be there defending his Stu Hart Invitational title. I'm very much looking forward to that. That's sarcasm, my friends. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little disheveled today. I didn't get the normal prep time I normally do for the show, so you'll have to forgive me. But we are very much marching towards the NWA 312. There's more matches that have been announced. It's all starting to come together. But I guess the real big news of the day, and if you guys follow Billy Corgan or the Smashing Pumpkins on Instagram, then you saw there have been more shows announced for the the World is a Vampire Festival. And I mean, this to me seems like a very big deal, especially considering, we were talking, Jaden, DKM, and myself were talking on last week's episode of Power that when they were doing the World is a Vampire Festival, one of the things that, in Mexico, the hallmark of the whole thing was having a live wrestling event behind the concert, or actually right in the middle of the concert. And when they go to Australia in about 2 weeks' time, they'll be doing the same thing and having these shows having these matches as part of the concert series. And what it sounds like to me, and I could be mistaken, but Smashing Pumpkins have announced dates from July the 28th through September the 9th. And we're talking Las Vegas, Nevada for 2 days, Salt Lake City, Utah, Mountain View, California, Auburn, Washington, Bend, Oregon, Wheatland, California, Irvine, California, Chula Vista, California, Highland, California, that's in my backyard, the Albuquerque, New Mexico, Dallas, Texas, Rogers, Arkansas, Huntsville, Alabama, West Palm Beach, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Charlotte, North Carolina, Homedale, New Jersey, Guilford, New Hampshire. I don't know how to pronounce that city. Wantaga. York, Bristol, Virginia, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Good news for our pal Tim. Maybe he can check out some Smashing Pumpkins. Clarkson, Minnesota, Franklin, Tennessee, and Noblesville, Indiana. Looks like those are the dates that they announced, which will feature bands like it looks like it says Interpol. I think that says Stone Temple Pilots. Is that right? Let me double check this. Yeah, Stone Temple Pilots. So that's kind of cool. That's a band that I'd actually pay to see with Smashing Pumpkins. So Stone Temple Pilots, along with again with Interpol and Rival Sons and Smashing Pumpkins, and that's the dates that they've announced. But then they also mentioned the World is a Vampire tour, which has less dates. Those dates are in Salt Lake City, Utah, Mountain View, California, Auburn, Washington, Bend, Oregon, Wheatland, California, Irvine, Chula Vista, and Highland, California, all very close to me, along with Albuquerque, Dallas, Rogers. So I'm not sure which dates that are being listed are actually going to be events where the NWA is being filmed. But like we talked about, if the NWA is filming, 10 show, let me rephrase this. If they're replicating what they did in Mexico City, which is filmed enough content for 2 separate NWA shows, if they roll that out the same way in Australia, where they have 10 concerts in 15 days, right there, that's probably close to 20 hours of programming, whether it be NWA, USA, Power, or some sort of hybrid or a pay-per-view. If in Australia, if they do that, if they combine those efforts, and then to come back to the United States and do this again in August, and do it from July 28th through September 9th, and with them, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, with an additional 24 shows. I mean, that is a ton. Again, if they do a 1-hour wrestling match in the middle of these tours, that's 24 hours of wrestling content. If they do a 2-hour, 2 to a 1-hour shows, that's 48 hours of content. I mean, they almost don't even need to do a Power episode taping for a while, and they would have enough content really to go for some time. So I don't know what the for sure plan is, but this is a reason to be excited. Again, if your NWA competitors are on a good chunk of these shows, not all of them, but if a good chunk of them, that's a ton of content for the NWA, which means, like, again, 2 things. We're going to have a lot of fresh content and a lot of highly visible NWA content. And you're putting this in, again, in Mexico City, in 10 out of 15 cities in Australia. Excuse me, that's not right. Out of some big cities in Australia, and then again, some pretty big cities here in the United States, especially so many in California. There's a lot of, in Southern California alone, there's 3 dates: Chula Vista, which is closer to San Diego, the San Bernardino, which is not far from me, and then Irvine, which is only, again, about an hour away from me. Like, all 3 of those shows are easily attainable for a guy like your boy Jay, who would definitely appreciate being able to see some more NWA action. And it would be the first time that the NWA had wrestled in California since the partnership with David Marquez dissolved during the Primetime Live series back during the pandemic in 2021. Or 2020, excuse me. So Dave Scooby says there's a break at the end of August, maybe for NWA 75. It looks like that's what it's pointing to, Scoob. And again, this is all this is all hearsay. This is all your boy Jay speculating. But who really knows for sure? I think it would be, I think it's a great deal for wrestling fans. I think it's a great deal for NWA fans. And if you like Smashing Pumpkins, it's certainly a best of both worlds. But I'm just thinking that this is going to be a big breakthrough for the NWA. And imagine if they'd have done this 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe Billy wasn't ready to do that, but I think now's the time. I'm just typing real quick, letting people know on Twitter that we are doing the show. I don't know if I didn't get out the. I didn't have a lot of time today to get ready for the show, so I feel maybe some people forgot that today is our pre-party. But anyhow, if you guys are here, if you're in the chat, thank you for being here. If you're listening on your drive home or whatever, I appreciate you guys being here. But feel free to jump into the chat. That's what we do here. We like talking NWA. We like talking with you guys. And again, it's I'm excited for what's to come for the NWA because, again, with Australia, we're on the heels of Australia. We've talked about it on this podcast and on the other one that, with, of course, 312 pay-per-view. But if you look at this, April 23rd, that tour is April 2023. I believe they kick off on April the 15th. Basically 2 weeks after the pay-per-view. So April 15th through basically the April 30th. So the whole month, Billy and the Smashing Pumpkins, along with a lot of our NWA champions, will be out there in Australia. And I can't stress enough how important this is because we're getting exposure, international exposure on the NWA brand, which I'm sure the NWA is more than considered. But it's having our champions out there. A champion like Camille, who, I mean, let's face it, she's been everywhere and does everything. She's done a lot to get the NWA over. This is an opportunity for the NWA to help expose her. As far as I know, Camille hasn't defended the title in Australia. I don't even think Camille has wrestled in Australia. So for her to touch down in Australia, along with our World Tag Team Champions, La Rebellion, and of course, our World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kerry Morton, maybe even our national champion Cyon, and our TV champion Thom Latimer. I think this is all beneficial. Now, I don't think Thom Latimer should be defending the title anywhere but Power. But if these matches are being taped for Power, then I think that's all. It's all good. Sam Retro's in the house. Hey Sam, thanks for checking us out. Appreciate you being here. It's kind of I'm a little off my game. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the show. I literally waited to the last minute to get ready, but I had a lot of errands to run from, being gone for the last few days. Had to get caught up on some things. So I'm glad to be here. I've got my dubby. You can, if you need energy and helps with the neuro factor, try dubby. The great Hisa is here. What is up, Hisa? Glad you're here listening. When we talk about these dates that are lining up, and I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to overexpress hyperbole here. I very much feel like this is a big moment because, again, for those dates that I listed, and I know, don't get me wrong, I know that these shows, this card is not every show on there is going to be a date for the NWA. But as I see, let me see one more time. And I'm sorry, I'm counting this live. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 dates that Smashing Pumpkins will be on from July the 28th through September 9th. And then on a different screen, on the same post, a different screen, different image, they list, I think I said 29 shows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's roughly of those 28 dates. It looks like, again, these aren't official dates, but Mike is busting my chops here. 26 dates. Yeah. And again, I'm not entirely sure how many of these are going to be NWA, but if we say 16 of them will feature NWA matches, that's a huge benefit to the NWA. It's a very smart move for Billy Corgan. It's one that I celebrate very much. I think he is absolutely doing the right thing for the brand. And it's funny, I wonder how much better this would have been a few years ago, or maybe he wasn't ready to do it. I don't know, but I feel like, man, if you want to level up your company and you level up your wrestlers and you level up your exposure, and if they're filming these matches, I mean, you guys saw, I'm sure some of you saw the clips have already been airing on AAA programming of the matches from Mexico City. You know, your boy Jay's showing you a couple of the clips here on the pre-party and on the Alliance Guys podcast, but you know, the full-on shows are being released now on AAA television programming, and I believe they'll be coming to the NWA maybe next week. We'll find out, obviously, soon. Maybe it'll be after the pay-per-view. I don't really know what their plan is for the release of this content, but it's coming soon, and I really feel like if the production is at a high level, you know, man, that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of hours of programming. So anyways, I think that could be a really good idea. Chris Drummond says, is it a good thing that he needs to do the pumpkin shows to garner interest in the NWA? So let's talk about that. That's a good question. Is it a good thing that he uses the Smashing Pumpkins to garner interest for the NWA? 100%, that's a good thing. Hey, what's going on, Willie? But back to what Chris is saying, is it a good thing? I think it's a good thing as long as he's getting people to watch the product. I don't know, like, what's the draw? What does it matter if it's between the concert? You know, look, in Mexico City, the people that were watching that event didn't buy tickets to see the NWA. They were there to see all the bands. And I'm pretty sure that the same will happen in the United States and in Australia as well. But if you've got a captivated audience that's paying attention, I think that's a good thing. And if people are tuning in to watch your program, I think that's also a good thing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad because there's a majority of Smashing Pumpkin fans that are representing for the NWA. I think at the end of the day, you just want as many people there as you can possibly get. And if you can get more people to watch the show because of this concert, I don't see the problem in that. Chris says, we would be crucifying TK if AEW events happened during Jaguar games. Would we? Obviously, right? Obviously, the setup is a little bit different between a concert and a football game. Because in a football game, you know, would we have a problem if during halftime they did a Ring of Honor show? I don't think I would. I think that'd be actually a brilliant idea. Instead of having, like, you know, the cheerleaders or the sideline reporters, if you put on, like, you know, Claudio Castagnoli versus, I don't know, Samoa Joe on with that audience, I mean, why wouldn't you? What would be the problem there? You think the fans would shit on it? I don't. I think you'd get a captive audience watching your matches. And I don't think I'd shit on that at all. I think that's a great idea. Could you imagine? Look, it's not going to happen because it's a big corporation. It's a big company. Like Tony Khan's interest in the Jacksonville Jaguars is different, right? It's different than Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins. But if Tony Khan could get his papa to put on a Ring of Honor event, you know, it's a half hour. I think halftime in most football games is like 15 or half an hour, I think, before the team comes back out on the field. So if you have half an hour, you have a ring, you know, lower from the ceiling. I don't know how because you can't really build a ring in like 15 minutes. And at these concerts, you can just have the ring there. But if they are somehow able to put a ring in the middle of that football venue and then have a match or 2 or 3 happen during this time, that's not a bad thing at all. And especially when you're, you know, Tony Khan and have access to some of the greatest pro wrestlers in the industry today. Like, you know, you could put Kenny Omega versus Vikingo in the middle of an arena filled with people watching, and I guarantee you, you're gonna get some fans out of that. You're gonna grab a few audience members out of that. I don't have a problem with that at all. And Chris, in fact, I think that's a great idea. So much you call Tony Khan and float the boat to him, because I think that's an awesome idea. Willie says, let's see. Willie says, oh, not that one. Willie says this Australian NWA event should help the NWA's recognition. Yeah. See, like, and I agree, Willie, because I think what's going to happen is you're putting your wrestlers, okay, the NWA, even in what I would call my favorite time of the NWA during the Bob Trobich era, where he was the facilitator of the National Wrestling Alliance, the executive director, if you will. The NWA didn't have a huge platform. It just didn't. Hollywood was probably the biggest extent of its platform, and that was great at the time. But remember, Hollywood was based in Los Angeles. You had programming in the world's second largest media market. So, okay, you're in the second largest media market in the United States. I said world, I meant United States. That's a big deal, but it didn't really flow over to the rest of the wrestling promotion. So, yes, they had a YouTube channel, and at points they had their shows on Patreon. They had shows that would go directly to YouTube. They had different various outlets over the years of distribution digitally of their content. But, that's not the same as literally being at a live event. And you're taking the NWA brand, which, let's remember, it wasn't too long ago that there were a couple of promotions in Australia who were representing the National Wrestling Alliance, whether it be Explosive Pro Wrestling in Perth, Warzone Wrestling. I think they were in Victoria, if I'm not mistaken. And then, there were other wrestling promotions even after the THARP or during the THARP era that represented the NWA. So having those matches in Australia, I mean, look, I'm not saying every single Smashing Pumpkins fan is going to be a pro wrestling fan, and not every pro wrestling fan is a Smashing Pumpkins fan, but there are people who like both. And I guarantee you there are people who are going to go to that show, buy tickets to this event because they want to see the pro wrestling. It won't be a large majority, no. But like me, I flew to Mexico City to see the wrestling. Let me rephrase that. I went to Mexico City and bought a $150 ticket to see the Smashing Pumpkins concert, only to leave after the wrestling was over. I think that's a huge deal. I think it's huge. This is a huge win for the NWA, and I think Australia. They have the blueprint. They built it in Mexico. Now they're going to perfect it in Australia by having a 10 dates in 15 days in Australia. Then they're going to come home to the United States and do it all over. And if they can have that same gusto and that same dynamic that they had in Mexico City, it's going to be awesome. Now, look, Mexico City also had a big plus in that they were using the stars of AAA against the stars of the NWA. And let me pump the brakes now. They weren't even the stars of AAA. They were like maybe like the B and C list guys, because I mean that card didn't have Vikingo on it, and yes, it had Commander, but Commander had just broken through and had that match on AEW where he was being spoken about in a very high regard. Octagon Jr., who's also very good. It wasn't a huge, like, he's not a huge star for the show. And Raluca points out that this is a time where it's both an event and a show. So you can't get in trouble for calling it a show or an event because it's one and the same. But remember, the NWA never has made the point that they put on events. That's exclusive to Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Let's see. Dave Scooby says it's an added bonus to have wrestling matches between the bands. Win-win in my eyes. Yeah, and I don't think that's an exclusive thought to Dave Scooby. Again, I went specifically for the wrestling, but when they come to Irvine, California, which is literally an hour and 15 minutes away from me, I'm not going to have to rush off to another wrestling show afterwards. So I will go and see the Smashing Pumpkins play, and I will see, whatever wrestling that they happen to offer in Irvine. And that would be awesome. I'm excited about that. I know that venue, I forgot what it was called. I've been there quite a bit. The 5 Point Amphitheater. I've seen who did I saw there? Most recently I saw Alice in Chains there, but I've seen a bunch of bands there in the last few years, and it's perfect. They don't have to put I don't think the wrestling ring makes sense in the middle of the concert venue, but there's areas where that ring, there's open space, would make a ton of sense. This would be a brilliant idea. What I'd be interested in seeing is how they pull off the show in Chula Vista and the show in Highland, because both of those are like more like arenas and less like giant venues, where like the 5 Point Amphitheater's an outdoor venue. It's huge. I believe that the event in Chula Vista and the event in Highland are going to be more like in an arena. Paul Bosch. Did I make something up, Hisa? You bring up Paul Bosch. And then Doty agrees, like, hey, he just saw the announcement. It's really exciting news for the NWA. And again, I know that not every single show on here will be an NWA show. They've made that clear that it's the NWA will be on some of these. I'm kind of guessing that it's going to be on the ones that are called The World is a Vampire Tour. God, I reached out to a few people because I'm very interested in this. And the fact that Stone Temple Pilots, like, for me, that's a band that I actually do like. So I might be there for that. I see Willie says, someone take the 10 pounds of gold from around the gigantic waist. And that's the thing, too. Like, look, man. All right, between you and me, right? Between you and me, this is a booking idea that your boy Jay has. Because 312 pay-per-view in Chicago is, from what I heard, it's mostly sold out. It's a 500-seat venue. This is not only is this a professional wrestling event for the NWA, but it's a fundraiser for the victims of the shooting that happened in Highland near Chicago several months ago. But I also feel like this is an opportunity for went out of focus there. This is an opportunity that you could have that title change, because you could have. That's what I'm saying, Tim. That's what I'm saying. If they go to Ottawa or if they go to Toronto, my friend, you and Raluca don't have to travel 9 hours to see an NWA show or event. You can travel to maybe, like, I don't know, how far is Toronto? You said you guys live just outside of Toronto. So, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. And when was the last time the NWA was in when was the last time the NWA was in in Canada? It was ECCW. Let's see. Hisa says, sorry, I meant to say Bosch did wrestling and classical music concerts together. That's a weird dichotomy, but I get it. Like, this is very much akin to the whole rock and roll wrestling of the 80s, right? Like, Cyndi Lauper's coming down to the ring with Captain Lou Albano. This is a big deal. Now, I know, you got Mr. Smiles over there, Billy Corgan. He is not as endearing as Cyndi Lauper, and Aaron Stevens is no Captain Lou Albano, but you're blending this wrestling with this music, and I think this is opening up doors for the NWA. That, look, I don't care how big the venue is for AEW. They can put on an event, an arena. Are they going to have 25,000 people show up or 50,000 people? So that's a bad example. But let's take MLW. Let's take Impact. Let's take United Wrestling Network. Are they going to be able to compete with those numbers? I don't know. Chris says, I wouldn't mind if the special guest appear on select shows. Who wouldn't want to see maybe Drew Onyx in Canada or Camille versus Nicole Matthews? Yeah. See, now you're talking. I think you're starting to see it my way, Chris. Now, are we going to see Drew Onyx in an NWA ring? I can't tell you, man, but I would love it. I think it'd be a perfect homage, a perfect way of saying thanks to that guy. I know this isn't that wasn't Billy Corgan's NWA. I know that Drew Onyx did not do anything to help Billy Corgan's NWA, but I mean, he could now. He's got a ring. Let's be honest. That was AAA's ring that they wrestled in Mexico City. I don't know whose ring they're going to use in Australia. I've sent out feelers to those who I know in Canada in Australia, and nobody has been able to tell me who's even on the card. But I do think it's an exciting opportunity again for the NWA Canada. That would be Mexico City, the United States, Australia, and Canada in one whole year. That's pretty amazing considering where they were just 2 years ago during the middle of a pandemic. We didn't know if this brand was even going to come back for the attack. And brother, now they're going to Australia and they're going to be going to Canada. This is huge. You all should be happy about this. Dodie says there's NWA Atlantic Canadian during Tharp era that disappeared quickly. Yeah, that's true. Willie says Jim Crockett Promotions, when they were in the NWA, the World Heavyweight Champion, World Tag Team Champion, traveled around the globe defending their titles. Yeah, Willie, and I get it too, man. I wish our champions did defend around the world. And if you look back to what Aldous did as champion, you look back to what Pierce did as champion, you look back to what Blue Demon did as champion. Hell, Rob Conway was a great example too. All four of those men, you know what? Even Tim Storm, you got to give Tim Storm some credit. All of those men traveled outside of the normal barriers for the NWA to prove that their world title was, in fact, a genuine world title. I mean, Blue Demon was the last world's heavyweight champion to ever defend in Spain, because Spain isn't a real hotbed for the NWA. You know, the last UK-based champion to defend in the last world's heavyweight champion to defend in the UK was Nick Aldis. But the last world champion to defend in Germany was Adam Pearce. The last world champion to defend in Australia was Nick Aldis. The last world champion to defend in Japan was Tim Storm. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and this is a big, big, big deal. And we all should be excited about this, because it means that there's going to be more eyeballs on the product, which means Billy's going to be forced to put on better wrestling. And I'm telling you, like, a boy can dream, right? I see what you're saying, Chris. I keep reading it. Shows in West Virginia wouldn't want to see Damian Wayne or Chance Prophet. Maybe. But this isn't their NWA. It's not Drew Onyx NWA. It's not Nicole Matthews or Chance Prophets or Damian Wayne. And as much as I would like to see all those people get a shot, I don't need to see Drew Onyx challenging for the 10 pounds of gold. But if we could see Drew Onyx on TV, I think that would be amazing. And somehow, some way, I felt like I sounded Canadian right there. Raluca, Tim, back me up. Did I slip into my Canadian accent? Let's see. Dave Scooby says, I believe Kyle Davis said he and Joe Galley will be calling the Australian matches, so no Velvet Sky, too bad. Yeah, I don't think Velvet Sky was in Mexico City either, so that'll probably be Kyle Davis and Joe there as well. And who knows, man? Okay. I don't know how much more matches they have in the can for Power before the pay-per-view. But let's say they do the pay-per-view 312 in Chicago and nothing changes. You still have Tyrus as world champion. You still have Thom as your TV champion. You still have La Rebellion as your tag team champions. You still have Camille as your women's world champion, and nothing changes from the NWA after 312 pay-per-view. If you go right into the AAA show after that pay-per-view, and you have 2 weeks of programming you could use for Power and USA, and then you start feeding those matches from Australia right in. Like, they could literally do weeks of programming without any new material being taped inside of a TV studio. It could just be these matches from abroad with Mexico City, then Australia, and then, come back and start doing tapings before they start off for the planning for the 75th anniversary show. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but I mean, they theoretically could. All right. So we've been talking about 40 minutes about this big announcement. Again, I don't want to, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic about it, but I really do think this is a great time for the NWA. And if they do wrestling matches in California, I'm in. I have a passport. Maybe I will fly to Toronto or Toronto or Ottawa to see them in September. I'm sure the wife would be thrilled with that. But if these matches turn out to be NWA matches, and I believe that there was one match in Hawaii, or not. I keep saying matches, concerts. If they have a concert in Hawaii, does the NWA show up there? That would be amazing. I'm trying to look on the map here. Not map, but on the announcement. Okay, maybe not Hawaii, but I see like Michigan and New Hampshire and New Jersey, and I mean these are places that the NWA hasn't been in years. So I think that would be a very exciting thing. You're already an honorary. See, I gotta start putting more U's in things, like my behavior with a U instead of, yeah. Hey, that's Tim. Am I saying it right? Ottawa. I've been trying to say it that way because I thought that's how Canadians said it. It'll be a special episode of the Alliance blog featuring me trying to act like characters from Letterkenny. Okay, so I mean that's pretty much it on that front. And I got to be honest, I wasn't even able to get graphics for tonight's show, but I do know what we're looking at, and I will talk about that in just a second here for the matches for tonight, because I think there's a few matches here that I think are going to look kind of fun. Some matches that I think will be good. I'm going to start with the main event just because I think this is probably the match that looks the least interesting to me. You're going to have EC3 and Black G's taking on the world's heavyweight champion Tyrus and Eric Jackson. There has been this like feud starting between EC3 and Black G's with Tyrus that's been completely one-sided. And I wonder if the NWA had initially planned to make 312 EC3 versus Tyrus. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna, I don't know exactly what's happening with this. Chris asked a good question, so I'll get back to the power in a minute. But he says, I wonder who the core roster for this will be. Well, okay, so like in Mexico, it was AAA versus the NWA. In Australia, it's the NWA versus the Alliance of Australian Wrestlers or something like that. Who is it going to be in the U.S.? Well, this is different, right? Because you don't have to use talent that isn't available because all of your American talent are based in America. So how hard would it be to get Jordan Clearwater and Irvine? Gee, oh man, I just even thought about that. If they do an NWA show in Irvine, that's the same city United Wrestling Network films Championship Wrestling. That's okay. That's stupid to maybe everyone else in the room, but I think that's awesome. Fighting for the city of Irvine, you've got the NWA with their world's heavyweight champion Tyrus, their television champion Thom Latimer, their national champion Cyon versus Championship Wrestling from Hollywood's heritage champion is Kevin Martinson. Its TV champion is I'm probably saying it wrong. I think Kevin Martinson is the TV champion. And the heritage champion is Jack Banning. And the world champion is Danny Limelight. Let's do a 3-on-3, guys. You're all going to be in Irvine anyways. When is that Irvine date? Do I have to choose what show I'm going to go to? Oh, dude. Maybe. What's the calendar say? Okay. Sorry, guys. I just got excited all of a sudden. So... what is it? The date for Irvine is August 9th. August 9th is a Wednesday. Hollywood films on Tuesdays. I'm not saying, I don't know if the NWA is going to be at that show on Wednesday, August 9th. But if they are, they would be going like right after Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in Irvine the day before. Oh, wow. That even got so much more interesting to me because now maybe Dave Marquez wants to make his show a little bit better, right? Maybe Dave Marquez wants to build up. Maybe he will have somebody as his world champion for that event or challenge for his world champion at that event. That might sway some NWA fans from going to an NWA. I don't know. You can see that I'm excited because this is interesting stuff. I wish there was more news announced so we could go off of this. But Stone Temple Pilots, Rising Sun, Smashing Pumpkins, and some of those shows will have Interpol. Yeah, it's cool, man. I think this is a very exciting time for the NWA. I know I said that more than once, but I really do feel like this is a good thing to have happening right now. But getting back to what's going to happen tonight on Power. So again, the main event, this is a one-sided feud. The only thing that we know Tyrus has been talking about during his promos is Adonis. He hasn't really, I mean, he mentioned Black G's and EC3 in passing, but like he spent the majority of his time talking about Chris Adonis. We don't really hear him talk much about a matchup with EC3 or Black G's. Even more so now you're putting him in a tag team match with Eric Jackson, who I know Eric Jackson's had more than 2 matches in the NWA, but the only 2 matches I can think of is when Jack Stay literally removed his head with that pop the trunk clothesline. So that seems a bit out of sorts for me. This whole match seems kind of weird, but maybe it leads into the only thing I could think is maybe the 75th anniversary show will be EC3 and Tyrus. Maybe they're just planting the seeds early. But I still have hopes that we have Chris Adonis winning the title at 312. Other matches on the card, we have former TV champion Jordan Clearwater making his return to Power since losing the TV title. We haven't seen him since Latimer took the belt off of him, and he's in desperate need of relevancy, right? He needs this victory to remain relevant in the NWA, but honestly, every man in this match needs this victory to stay relevant in the NWA. The last time we saw Magic Jake, well, he got a victory over Mecurio, but that was back in February, and it wasn't even on Power. It was on USA. So we haven't seen Magic Jake in quite some time. Then Kratos, the last time we saw Kratos, he was laying in a pool of his own blood, right? Because our boy at the Thrillbilly busted him open the hard way. He bled in the ring. He wore a crimson mask, if you will. Hell, the Thrillbilly was licking the blood off of Kratos's face, and I just kind of feel like, and then after that match, Kratos then challenged the national champion Cyon and lost. But I feel like whoever wins this match could really be positioned into a potential another opportunity for a title, right? Like, Thom Latimer is going to need an opponent eventually. It could be any one of these 3. With that being said, Cyon needs an opponent. It can be any one of these 3. So I feel like this is should be a very interesting match, a very fun match. I'm looking forward to that match as well. Then also, let's see. I'm going to go back to some of your comments because I just saw that you guys had a few good ones here. Sam Retro said, whatever happened with Marquez in the NWA? Long story short, man, there was a falling out around the time of the Primetime Live series. There were more matches that were supposed to happen during that pay-per-view series back in 2020 during the pandemic that didn't work out for whatever reason. We know that Nick Aldis defended 10 pounds of gold against not Matt Taven, but Mike Bennett. We had that matchup. We had Thunder Rosa defend the women's championship against Gigi Dolan, formerly known as Priscilla Kelly, and then later she wrestled against Serena Deeb on an episode of NWA USA. I'm not sorry, United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live. We had Zicky Dice defend the TV title against the Pope, who won the belt. In fact, before that match, we had Zicky Dice teaming up with Effie to take on the Pope and Eric Watts from United Wrestling Network. We also had Aaron Stevens lose the national championship to Trevor Murdoch on that series of shows. And then also the tag titles changed hand where Aaron Stevens and Kratos teamed for the first time against James Storm and LA Knight to win the tag titles. But yeah, it fell apart shortly after that. There were supposed to be more matches with the NWA that just didn't come to fruition. And I feel like there was some bad blood after that incident. Dave Scooby says, will Kevin Kiley return to the NWA was a one and done. I think the plan is that he is supposed to be around. I mean, they recently aired that promo that he cut, and I don't imagine you do that promo unless there's intent to use him at some point. Otherwise, that was a waste of your TV time. And it's not unlike the NWA to waste TV time, but I don't think you would have shown it if you don't have plans to use him again. Also in action will be the number one contender. Well, excuse me, there'll be a match to crown a new number one's contender with Kerry Morton taking on Alex Taylor taking on Joe Alonzo for an opportunity to challenge Kerry Morton and his junior heavyweight title. However, there's been a stipulation added to the match that if Alonzo wins, the Ill Begotten becomes the Ill Forgotten, and the group will have to disband. And as much as I hate for any spotlight to be taken away from my boy Jeremiah Plunkett, who I think is absolutely underutilized, and I hope at some point gets at least a run with that TV title. He's one of my favorite guys in the NWA right now. But perhaps the group is just not a good hold for Alex Taylor or Jeremiah Plunkett, because Taylor is the guy who probably should be junior heavyweight champion. Alex Taylor has done everything the NWA has asked him. He's got a great look. Maybe his promos are lacking, but the guy certainly has been great in the ring. And even through, injury and potential injuries, he still comes back and looks good in the ring. Remember, I think it was at the 74th anniversary show, that ladder match, he fell awkwardly onto the ropes. And man, I thought he died right there in the ring. And fortunately, he was okay, even though his body bent in ways as your body's not supposed to bend. Willie says, whatever happened to the Koloff dynasty? They were one and done. They brought him in for Circled Squared, and then they never ended up using them again, which is a shame, because I think, especially with Nikita, that was a fun tag team and a throwback for sure. But I don't know, maybe because there's a war going on in Ukraine with Russia that they decided not to go that route. Mike, I'm not above stealing other people's material. Sorry. If it's funny, I'm going to use it. That's a big time matchup for the number one contendership for the junior heavyweight title. Joe Alonzo has been really good as of late. He's got America's jawline in his back pocket, and that's Jamie Stanley. Danny Deals and Jeremiah Plunkett obviously are in the back pocket for Alex Taylor. So we'll see what happens here tonight. But after this match, we'll probably have a new number one contender for the World Junior Heavyweight Championship, and we'll probably have a new match announced for the pay-per-view at 312. So yeah, I mean, this is a big night for the Ill Begotten. They could be no more very soon. Then also we have Blunt Force Trauma without Aaron Stevens challenging Mims and Dak Draper for their golden opportunity shot at the World Tag Team titles. Now, we saw Blunt Force Trauma already get a shot at La Rebellion. And speaking of a shot, it was a shot from Aaron Stevens that caused them to be disqualified. I don't know if that's going to happen again. Aaron Stevens won't be ringside this time. So, Carnage and Damage are going to have their hands full with Mims and Dak Draper, the Mile High Muscle. We haven't seen a lot of them since the Champion Series. They did have that one match against the Savages. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see what's going to happen here. I really feel like this tag team of Mims and Dak Draper is not really doing much for either one of these guys. Draper had all the build-up to win that national championship. Of course, Cyon ended up winning the title. I wouldn't be surprised if Dak Draper is the guy that take the belt off of Cyon at some point. I think Mims needs the whole rehab. Mims needs an opportunity to start from the ground up again and potentially maybe challenge for the TV title at some point. They haven't used him to the best of his ability either. I think that kind of hurts him in the long term. Willie says, I wish that Brian Cage, Watts, and Alex Hammerstone were in the NWA. You're not the only one that thinks that. Watts has kind of been on mostly a sabbatical. I've seen him appear in a few matches, but he hasn't been wrestling consistently with the United Wrestling Network. I don't know. I haven't seen Watts around That's not to say that he hasn't had a handful of matches here and there. And I know the guy's been working on his body. He looks great. I've seen his Instagram photos. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with Watts next. Hammerstone, I think, is very content being in MLW and working his indies. He just recently won another championship here in California with NLW or NTLW. And he's guy's doing great in MLW. Cage is the mystery. I heard Cage's contract is almost up, and I don't know what the plans are for Brian Cage going forward with AEW. I've heard that there's speculation that he may go to the WWE. There's speculation he may return to Impact. Hell, he could even be in the NWA for all we know. But he's a hell of a talent, and he's the right kind of person that you'd want if you're trying to build an international presence and build your brand. And he is definitely a guy who could body slam Tyrus, so we'll see. Mike, don't be sad that I use your material. Be happy that your material is being heard. That sounds like something Carlos Mencia would say. Sorry about that if you're a fan of Carlos Mencia. Mike says Aaron will bumble that somehow on Blunt Force Trauma. I think so too. I don't know. We saw Blunt Force Trauma in the Ring of Law Rebellion. I don't know if I want to see that match again at 312. I haven't ordered it yet, but if you order now on Fight, you order it this week, you get a $5 credit. If you wait past this week, you'll pay the full price without getting any kind of credits. And for me, I haven't had a lot of luck with the Fight credits, but for those of you that do, this is a good way to, get some extra earnings for the next pay-per-view. Whew. So I'm out of breath. Just to recap, I had an absolute wonderful time at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event. We called it the Dog Wrestling Dog Alliance Summit. That we did a meet and greet, or it was a meet and meet actually. And I got to meet Tim, who is a hell of a dude. Love that guy. I got to finally meet Tim in person. Got to meet his beautiful bride, Raluca. She's amazing. I got to see Dave Scooby again. He's my guy. I love Dave Scooby. And then finally got to meet Jaden after knowing him from like 17 plus years. We're going to do this again. We're going to do it at the 75th anniversary show, whenever that may be. Looking on the calendar, I don't know exactly when it's going to be with all these Smashing Pumpkin events, concerts that are coming up. So we'll have to wait and see. But I like it. Willie Bowen says, what if Blake Bulletproof Troop and Jax Dane challenge for Law Rebellion for the tag titles? I mean, I would like that as well, but they are already have their dance ticket punched as they will face AJ Kazana and Anthony Andrews, the Country Gents at the pay-per-view as part of the pre-show. Also, that pre-show is going to have another matchup that's going to Mask versus Hair again, a strap match. They're trying to make me care, but it's not working with the Gimp and Sal the Pal. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that all plays out. Jeremy's in the house. What's up, Jeremy? Better late than never. But that's almost going to do it for the show this week. Thanks for checking us out, Jeremy. Like I said, the 75th anniversary show. If you are planning to be there, make sure you get there because we're going to have some fun. We had a lot of fun this weekend, and I hope to do it again in St. Louis. I'm hoping for a more dangerous city next time because Glassboro was rustic and all good, brother. I'm just teasing you. Glassboro was rustic and beautiful. St. Louis might not be so much rustic and beautiful. We'll find out at the 75th anniversary show, but that's going to do it for us now. Jeremy does have a couple of interviews up on his channel. Check him out. It's the Wrestling with the MMA. I can't think of his channel name right now, but you can find it. He did an interview with me. He did an interview with Dave Scooby. He did an interview with Tim, and he did an interview with Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. So check those out. I think you'll enjoy them. They're very short watches, so you're not dedicated to watching for a very long time. And then, of course, Jeremy, along with Dave Scooby and Tim, will be here on Wednesday. Hopefully they'll recant some of their stories from rustic Glassboro, New Jersey. There it is. The Worm 5559. Hopefully they'll recant their stories from this past weekend in for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, as well as go over what happened at NWA USA and talk about what happened with United Wrestling Network. And Mike isn't too happy about it being in St. Louis. So we'll see how that plans out. And then, of course, on Thursday, DK and Jaden and myself will have some more dog talk with the NWA talk, and I'm sure we're going to touch more on what's happening with this tour. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. Merch link is in bio if you want to check out some of these cool shirts like this one or like this hat. And of course, if you like to support the show, Dubby is a great way of doing it by ordering your own Dubby, or just click like, comment, or subscribe. That all works too. So thank you guys for being here on Tuesday, lifting me up. I'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA POWERRR every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we